The scores on the doors is 150 to myself, 149 to Sim. It's 5 points for a completely correct scoreline, 1 point for a correct result in the star man. Once you pick that man, you can't pick them again for the rest of the season. 5 points for a goal, 2 points for an assist. We're going to start off at Villa Park. Villa 2, Manchester City 1. Sim went for 1-0 to Villa. I went for 2-1 to Villa. And I get a 5-pointer here. Sim gets a 1-pointer, which makes it a 5-point gap. And yeah, I thought Villa were good value for this win, weren't they?
Yeah, City were terrible, let's be honest. They really struggled, didn't they, to impact the game. I think their second half, I don't know if I remember, I mean, they scored right at the end, but they barely laid a glove on Villa. Villa were at their best in this game, intense. Tielemans and Rodgers were completely running the show in that middle of the park.
Rodgers was brilliant, wasn't he?
Yeah, Rodgers, they just couldn't live with him. They couldn't live with him. And that goes again to City's lack of physicality and lack of athleticism at the moment in the middle. They just can't seem to deal with athletic teams on power and pace in the middle. And that's exactly what Rodgers has in abundance. And Tielemans, brilliant passing range, having a great season, Tielemans, to be honest. He's really, really stepping up for Villa this season. And there was a Villa team at their best against a City team that were pretty much at their worst. They just couldn't deal with what Villa were throwing at them, and it could have been a lot worse for City. 2-1 flattered them, I felt, and I don't remember too many chances at all that City ever had in the game. They struggled to create, they struggled to really have shots against Martinez, and it was an easy day in the end for Villa. I think the scoreline makes it seem closer than it was.
Yeah, I agree. And Villa as well, it's taken this long in the season. I know it's been like this for a couple of games, but Ollie Watkins on the bench and John Duran starting, and John Duran 2 goals in 2 now.
Yeah, and starting to really score consistently. So, nice goal he scored. I feel like John Duran doesn't offer the other stuff that Watkins offers, the hold up, the assists and stuff like that. But as long as you're scoring goals, I don't think the manager will care at the moment. That whenever that stops, then he might come out of the team. But at the moment, he's got the shirt, no doubt.
Yeah,
scoring great goals, great left foot he's got.
Yeah. Brentford against Nottingham Forest. It finished 2-0 to Forest on the day. Unbelievable away result for them as Brentford's first loss at home all season. Sim went for 2-2. I went for 3-2 to Brentford. And uncharacteristically, Brentford couldn't hurt Nottingham Forest. I think it's the first time they failed to score, and first time they failed to score multiple goals as well, because they're usually on fire with Mbeumo and Wissa, Sade in recent weeks as well, Damsgaard pulling the strings, but Forest kind of nullified them.
Yeah, they were, and I was watching a bit of this game, and Brentford really struggled to lay a glove on Forest. I think it was more about Brentford's kind of bluntness in the forward line. I think Forest played a back three system, and Brentford just couldn't get past them, and they defended so effectively, and they really nullified Wishart, and Mbeumo just didn't offer them the space that they love to play in on this occasion. And going forward, I don't think they were exceptional Forest, but they were just efficient. They took their chances when they came. Ole Einar scored the first one, and who was it? Elanga, nice finish for the second one as well. Cut inside, that's his second goal in 2 weeks as well. So it was just an efficient performance. I don't think they blew them away, but it was just a solid away performance from Forest, and that's all it took to get them over the line in this one. And a great win, because as you say, Brentford 7 wins and 1 draw in 8 games at home. So it was never going to be easy to Forest to go there and win, but they managed to go over the line, and it was a really solid win for Forest. And that's now 4 wins in 5 into the top 4. And for a brief period, they went above Aston, which is amazing. So keep going from strength to strength, Nottingham Forest at the moment.
We move on to Portman Road as Ipswich took a hiding to Newcastle 4-0. I went for 1-1. Sim went for 2-1 to Newcastle, so he gains a point, which is back-to-back 4-0 wins for Newcastle in the Premier League.
Against Leicester and Ipswich.
Yeah, Leicester and Ipswich. Ipswich, on the other hand, then really not having a good time of it at the moment, are they? Like, you could say at some point in the season, maybe 5 or 6 games ago, they were going on a bit of an unbeaten run. You thought they should have picked up a few more points than they should, but now they're getting beaten quite comfortably.
Yeah, and that's got to be a bit kind of worrying for Ipswich. And as well, some of the goals they conceded, just sloppy play out the back, giving goals for free, and that's got to really, really frustrating Kieran McKenna. Terrible defending for a lot of their goals, to be honest, where Muric has the ball, he just gives it straight to one of the Newcastle players, and
Muric doing Muric things.
He is, and he did
he was actually performing pretty well, weren't he, first half of the season?
He was, but at Burnley he had a tendency to do it a few times. He did it a few times, and he's done it again. From a Newcastle perspective, though, a hat-trick for Isaac. Jacob Murphy's on brilliant form at the moment as well in the last couple of games, so fair play to him, and it was a great win for them in 8th position. And at the moment, only, 5 points off the top four, 3 points off, 2 points off, 2 points off fifth. So put themselves into that conversation. And it's been a great week for them, as you say, back-to-back 4-0 wins. But it is, again, against Leicester and Ipswich. So we'll see how they fare against other teams. But
well, you say Leicester and Ipswich. We got 1 point out of those two.
yeah, and it was a disgrace, but we did. But fair play to them. They did get 2 really good wins this week. But yeah, Ipswich, very much alarm bells at the moment. They're still only 2 points away from Leicester, who are in 17th. So they'll probably feel, they're not out of it. But the way they're losing games at the moment has got to be a big concern.
West Ham against Brighton finished 1-1. Sim went for 2-1 to West Ham. I went for 2-2, so I gain a point on this game. Yeah, what's going on at Brighton at the moment? Because they are on a real kind of bad turn in form, starting off drawing with Southampton, losing to Fulham, drawing with Leicester, losing to Palace, and now drawing with West Ham. They can't seem to get a result at the moment.
Yeah, and it wasn't a great performance. It wasn't a great performance from them, especially in the first half. They struggled to really create good quality of opportunities. To be fair, it was a terrible game of football. I think West Ham play how they usually do, where they're just trying to stifle the opposition and not give them too many opportunities and counter. Brighton had a lot of possession, but just couldn't really get through that West Ham side. Second half, it changed a bit. I think Brighton upped their game. They took the lead, and then West Ham pretty much equalised immediately through Kudus. And then I think near the end of the game, it was kind of Brighton creating good opportunities, and then it was West Ham countering and having openings on the counter attack and not really making the most of it. So I think a draw was a fair result. But as you say, Brighton, 5 without a win, 6 without a win now?
Yeah.
So they're struggling to get those wins on the board, and sometimes their football isn't quite at the same level as at the beginning of the season. But again, look, manager in his first season, a young manager with a young team. So it's not completely unexpected, but yeah, they're definitely going through a bit of a tough time at the moment. Good point for West Ham, but still not the best performance.
Yeah, but still, you look at it, and after the horrific result, which was the 3-1 loss to Leicester, they gone and beat Wolves. They got 2 credible draws away at the Vitality, which is a really hard place to go, and against a Bournemouth side who have been good for the majority of the season. So not the worst 2 draws. Not the worst 2 draws,
no. But I don't think it's going to convince anyone just yet. But at least he's stemming the tide for a bit, stabling the ship.
Yeah. Moving on to Crystal Palace against Arsenal, which was the 5:30 kickoff. Arsenal won by 5-1 at Selhurst Park, which on the face of things is an unbelievable result for Arsenal. With Palace, looked like they were really turning a corner, starting to get some results. Sim went for 1-1. I went for 2-1 to Palace. So we're both horribly wrong on this one. I didn't even feel Arsenal were that good in this game. I just felt I just felt like they was just super clinical. Gabriel Jesus, I don't know, he's turned into prime R9 over the last couple of games, just finishing everything at the moment.
Could have a hat-trick in this one as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And, credit to them because, you take your chances in an away game and you score 5 goals. It's got to be something to be proud of. But, Crystal Palace, they had an XG of 1.59.
It was a bit weird how many chances Arsenal gave up in this game compared to how they usually do.
Palace had 3 big chances and Arsenal had 5 big chances and they scored all 5.
We did this prediction on Wednesday, and Thursday we found out that Eze got ruled out for the game, and as soon as I heard that news I was like, okay, I think maybe Arsenal will probably win this one now, because I think Eze, you need that kind of player fit for this kind of game to make the difference when you got the ball, and I think that proved, because if Eze was maybe the one on the end of some of those chances, I think Palace could have been a very different result. Unfortunately, it was other players who are not as good as him, and maybe they could have created even more chances if Eze was on the pitch, but he wasn't, and he's a big part of how they attack. And they did get a good goal through Sarr, and they did create some good chances, but they just didn't finish them. And Arsenal were clinical, going the other way. They punished Palace for mistakes they made, and some good play from them as well. Another goal from a corner to put them 2-1 up, and I think once it went 3-1, it was difficult to see Palace getting back in the game, albeit in that second half they started very quickly, Palace, and they nearly got back in the game straight away. They couldn't make the use of it, and then as soon as Arsenal make it 4-1, it's game over. But this win did come at a cost, and that's Bukayo Saka. Apparently, we've learned today he's going to be out for a few weeks and potentially months at this point. Potentially
Arteta said many weeks.
Many weeks. So that could be anything between 4 and 6, I think, or 4 to over 4, I'd say. So, how damaging could that be? Because of how reliant they usually are on it.
Yeah, it'll be very damaging for Arsenal. If Saka's out for, they're saying it could be over 2 months for Saka. We don't know the full extent just yet in terms of how long he's actually going to be out for. But if he is out for that amount of time, over 2 months, I can't see them manoeuvring that. I can see them picking up results, but not consistent results to be in a title challenge.
Considering how reliant they are on him, you look at the stats, and like I think it was like over nearly 50% of their attacks go through that side because of just how reliant they are on him.
Yeah.
You also have to take into the account, first of all, you look back at when Odegaard was out, how just that disruption, how much it affected them. And as well, Sterling's now injured for weeks, so he can't even replace him. So who do they put there? Probably Trossard on the right. I mean, is that a great situation? I think Martinelli goes there, I reckon, and they put Trossard on the left. But again, if one of those gets injured, all of a sudden they're very thin on the ground all of a sudden.
But also, like, they might dip in, and it's kind of lucky in a sense that it's come just before the January transfer window opens.
Potentially, I mean, who do they sign? Do they go big for a signing? I don't know. And also whoever comes knows that Saka's going to be back in a month or so, or 2 months. So I don't know. Do they? And also Sterling's already there, unless they cancel that loan. So I don't know if they're going to dip into the market.
Is he on loan, Sterling?
Yeah, he's on loan, right?
Oh, he's on loan.
Yeah, he's on loan. They're not paying any transfer fee, but he's on loan. So anyway, it's going to be really interesting to see how they cope without Bukayo Saka and how they manoeuvre that, because he is so important to their attack. He's one of the only attacks in the league where he's like very much a pivotal player for that attack.
Yeah, and a lot of the time actually they're quite blunt in games with him.
Yeah, that's the thing. So even without him now, but it could go two ways. Maybe they'll start to realise that they don't have to be so reliant on him, and maybe it could be a benefit, because once they start taking him out of the team and they're forced to play without him and they find solutions, maybe once he comes back, they might not run him into the ground like they do. So it could be a benefit. But on the flip side, if they don't cope without him, then they might have to double down when he does come back and running him to the ground. So it could go either way.
Yeah, and you don't do that after a hamstring injury as well.
Yeah.
Sean makes a good point saying Jesus will probably go on the right.
Jesus on the right? Yeah, I guess. But I don't know. I don't really like him as a winger, but yeah.
Do you like him anyway?
Well, recently he's done all right, I guess.
In the last 2 games, but I mean, in the last year, he's been horrific.
Yeah, but what I've seen in the last 2 games is something that I haven't seen in the last year, which is that sharpness. The sharp Jesus can be a bit of a danger. When he's not sharp, he's can be very easily dealt with. But once he's sharp and he's nippy and he's nipping in between you and he's dribbling, that's when he's on form. And that's what I've seen from him over the past.
Feels like that first goal in the Palace Cup game just gave him so much confidence.
Yeah, and it was clinical finishes.
Yeah. Everton against Chelsea, it finished 0-0. Sim went for 1-1, so he gets a point. I went for 1-0 to Chelsea. I mean, Chelsea got completely dyched in this game. You should have stuck to your original prediction, because you did say after the Arsenal-Everton game, Chelsea's going to be 0-0 too.
Yeah, maybe. I should have stuck to it. But
you said 1-1.
Yep, but look,
Dyche doing Dyche things.
2 draws out Arsenal and Chelsea. It will take that all day long going into that game. So fair play to Sean Dyche. But to be fair as well, it wasn't just like they were parking the bus. They had chances. They had chances.
2 big chances in the game.
Dye had a big chance. Decore had opening as well. So they did have their moments. Obviously, Chelsea as well. Jackson will be disappointed he didn't score. But I think it was a bit concerning how blunt they looked in that second half. They didn't really... If anyone looked like they were scoring, it was going to be Everton in that second half. And Chelsea did look a bit blunt. And that would be a bit concern for, especially all that attacking talent they have out there. The fact that Everton were able just to keep them quiet has to be a bit of a concern. I always said as well, going to Goodison, it's a difficult place to go. And Chelsea, as much as everyone praising them, these are the kind of games you're going to be champions. You have to go and scrape a win, and they didn't. So, we'll see. Look, it's only 1 game. They've been in great form. They're still second in the league, so not all is lost. But obviously, there was a chance to go top of the league before Liverpool played Spurs. So that was a big chance missed to put pressure on Liverpool.
Yeah.
And they didn't take it. And look, I don't know. I don't know if they have it in them to go all the way and win the league.
I mean, we're pretty much calling Liverpool champions elect already.
At the moment, I mean, they just look like the team at the moment. It's nothing to do with where they are in the league. Obviously, it has something to do with it, but it's more from what I'm seeing. It's more from the eye test. And as much as Chelsea are playing great, I don't see they're winning when they're playing very well and winning 3-0 and stuff like that. And I know they came back against Spurs, but they're very off. I haven't seen them with real adversity yet, how they cope with it. And they're a young squad. I'm still not sure about that defensive line as well. I don't know if that's a title-winning back line at the moment. I know they definitely have a title-winning attack, and when everyone's fit, a title-winning midfield as well. But I think that back line is still suspect. And games like this, where you're coming up against a brick wall, against an aggressive, physical team, can they go away to Goodison and get the 3 points? Then they couldn't. So, look, we'll see. We'll see if maybe, I don't know, they've got some good games coming up. They've got Fulham next, though, I think. So, not an easy game.
Who?
Fulham,
Chelsea got Fulham.
Yeah, and that's, a game where Fulham have played really well against the big sides.
But Everton, 4 0-0s in their last 6 games or something.
Oh, that is Dyche. Dyche right there. If anyone can see a run of form that can say, who is Sean Dyche? That's right there. So, look, 4 points clear at the moment of the relegation zone.
I don't think they're going down.
No, I don't think they're going down either. I think they're just going to have too much about them. As well, Southampton, I just think they're gone. And then at the moment, I think Palace will. I think at the moment it's 3 out of, there's 4 teams in that fight.
Yeah.
At the moment, I think Palace will be out of it.
Anyone can get dragged into it? I don't think so.
I just can't see. I think all the other teams just have too much about them, managers or square player wise.
And I think Wolves as well are comfortably better than the other 3 in terms of personnel.
I mean, they've got Cunha, mate, Nouri. They've got some good players there.
Cunha though, could be having a long ban. Without him, they could drag them in. Yeah.
I just think at the moment it's 3 from 4. That of Leicester, Wolves, Ipswich, Southampton.
I do think the 3 teams that came up are going to go back down. That's what I feel.
Which would, cause a different conversation about the levels between Championship and Premier League increasing.
Is that what happened last season as well? And we move on to another 0-0. Fulham against Southampton. Very disappointing for Fulham not to capitalise.
For them, really.
Yeah, on the Southampton side. But they did have sacked their manager. They did go a bit more defensive in this game. And it told a good result, a good point for them, which makes it 6 points over the course of the season. Sim went for 3-0 to Fulham. I went for 2-0 to Fulham. I mean, Fulham did make all the running in the game, but just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah, they tried as they might. Ramsdale back in. I've played with a broken finger. Did you see his gloves?
Oh, is that right?
He played with a 4-fingered glove.
I didn't see that, no.
His fingers were strapped, which is that's a big call, but he did it, and he got a clean sheet, so fair play to him. And look, to be fair, they got a 0-0 in this one, but they went away to Brighton not so long ago, got a 1-1 draw under Martin, so it's not impossible for them to get this kind of result. So fair play to them. It's a good point. Fulham, though, with European ambitions, would be mildly disappointed with that.
Definitely.
With that result. What's it called? There's now 4 draws in their past 5 games. So, look, there have been some good draws in there, but it's.
They drew against Liverpool, Spurs, and Arsenal.
But now Southampton. So it goes to show that it's not so easy, even against these bottom teams for teams like Fulham. So, bad day for them, bad draw. But Southampton will take that, I guess. But the reality is for Southampton, as much as it's a good point, they just need wins at some point. And I remember similar to, who was it last year? I think it might have been, was it Burnley or Luton maybe, that they were getting some draws and they're like, yeah, good points, but they're going to need to get some wins. Otherwise, that's it. So, yeah. Yeah,
we'll see how the new manager does.
Maybe it was Sheffield United who got quite a few draws. I think it might have been there.
Maybe. Leicester against Wolves. Wolves back to winning ways after sacking their manager. 3-0 away win at Ruud van Nistelrooy's Leicester. 2-2 we both went for. But, it was a convincing scoreline. It was 3-0 by half-time.
Yeah, and really poor from Leicester, to be honest. I know they've got a new manager, but it's his first game in charge, Pereira, so wonder what kind of style they're going to play. What formation they play? 3 at the back, or was it 4? They went to a 3. Matt Doherty is a right centre-back. So changing things a bit there. Cunha, Guedes back into the fold, who got a goal and an assist, so fair play to him.
Doherty got an assist as well.
So signs of improvement there. But look, under Leicester, under Ruud van Nistelrooy, Leicester got 2 lucky results, but apart from that, they've been really poor. Yeah. And even those games where they got the results, they weren't great.
This new manager bounced those first 2 games.
But it wasn't performance bounce. It was just a results bounce.
Yeah.
It wasn't. I was just lucky. And in these past 2 games, apparently in these last 4 games, they've conceded over 100 shots or something like that. So they're really under the cosh. I don't think Ruud has changed.
You know what Ruud has done? In the last 2 games, he's taken out Buonanotte, who's been their best player all season. I just don't get that. He's been on the bench for both these games.
And he's dropped Harry Winks. What's he thinking?
And Harry Winks has also been one of their best players this season.
Come on, put Winksy back
Literally the 2 players that have really stood out. I mean, Vardy aside, Vardy as well stood up. But these 2 players, Buonanotte and Winks. I'll tell you what's a big problem.
Well, a big problem is he's playing Cody and Vestergaard as centre-backs, and they are just 2 massively slow coaches.
Where's Wout Faes?
And apparently he plays a higher line as well than Cooper, and he's doing that with Cody and and Vestergaard. I mean, it's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
I think Rude is in for a bit of a rude awakening.
Yeah,
let's say.
absolutely.
They are still 17th, but at the time of recording, 2 points above Wolves in at the moment. So look, they're clearly in a massive relegation fight. I don't think. Look, it'll be interesting to see what they do in January. They're going to need reinforcements if they're going to stay out of the relegation zone, in my opinion, especially with the centre backs they have. But at the moment, Rude hasn't really changed the performance level. Albeit, I think
it's got worse.
I feel like we're seeing a bit more Vardy in goal scoring positions at the moment. So he had a goal cleared off the line and he hit the post and stuff. So he was getting involved, and he's had a few moments since he's come in. But we're just defensively, they're all over the shop at the moment.
Yeah. Let's go to Old Trafford. Manchester United 0, Bournemouth 3, which carries on Amarim's really hard start to life at Old Trafford. Both of us went for Man United wins.
They're calling him Ruben Interim.
Look, I thought Man United had some late rallies in both halves, but Bournemouth, the ones that had the quality, they scored midway through the first half, and they got 2 quick-fire goals, didn't they, midway through the second half, and that was that.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't watching it, but I saw the highlights, and it's just shocking defending for the corner. Hyson again. This guy's turning into a bit of a menace from corners recently. Got another goal, brilliant header from him. But the defending from Mazraoui for that penalty from Kluivert, so poor, just lazily diving in when he doesn't need to, and Kluivert burying that penalty, and then the Semenyo buries it straight away after the second goal to make it 3-0. It was a bit of an embarrassing display for Man United defensively. Look, again, in possession, they had chances, and you can see patterns of play, but at the moment, Amarim is fighting against the wind at the moment. He's trying to change things, but he's doing it mid-season when, he's basically, again, using these games as pre-season because he's trying to work out what his best team is, and it's costing them points and goals at the moment, and it was a really poor display from them. Look, I think whatever happens, as long as they don't get relegated, I think they're going to keep him this season. So I don't think he's in danger of his job, but obviously it's not nice to watch at the moment for Man United fans. And Amarim, what can he do? He's just trying to work things out. But when you're completely changing up the formation and everything mid-season, you're not even...
Conte did it.
Conte did it, yeah.
And got us top 4.
Yeah, but we had to wait. I mean, there was an immediate uptick, but then you remember we went through that run in February or March where we lost to Southampton and Wolves and Burnley all in a row, until we really got it right. So that's what they're going through at the moment.
Yeah, they did have 4 big chances in the game though, and come away with no goals. So you got to be more clinical than that as well when the chances come.
Yeah, but I think a lot of them were at 3-0.
All right, next up and last but not least, Tottenham against Liverpool. 6-3 to Liverpool at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Sim went for 3-2. I went for 2-1, both in Liverpool favour. So we both get a point here. And yeah, outclassed, outmatched. A tied Spurs team trying to take on the best team in the league. And not the races.
Gary Neville said we have to put Spurs at 4:30 on a Sunday every week with the goals that we have in our games. And look, there's another goal fest at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, but unfortunately this one was I think the scoreline doesn't even represent how not a contest this was. Liverpool destroyed Spurs from start to finish. Spurs really struggled to contain Liverpool's attack. They just got in at will. It was so easy for Liverpool to get in on Tottenham's goal, and it could have been even worse than 6. Tottenham, obviously at 5-1, showed a little bit of fight, got a couple of goals, and maybe there were inklings of a comeback, but even then, Liverpool straight away put that to bed, made it 6-3, and it was game over. And look, it was a goal fest. It was probably great for the neutral, but Tottenham really out on their feet after a good win on Thursday to get through in the cup. This was, back to reality, I guess.
And then last but not least, we go to the star men. Sim went for Raul Jimenez. I went for Iwobi, and in true classic fashion, every time we go for a head-to-head, none of them get points. And you think you're going to Fulham at home against the Southampton team that are shipping goals left, right and centre, and it ends 0-0.
Yeah, classic. I thought it was guaranteed goals and not even one goal. And Jimenez didn't even play. He didn't start. He came on and done nothing. So terrible star man pick from me.
So we finish off this week 153 to Sim, 157 to myself,